Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites. Joining me in studio today is Rob Roper. Rob, welcome.
Hey, Pat. Good to see you.
Good, thank you. Glad you came into the studio. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it much better in person. That Zoom stuff, I don't know. Although I think with COVID, we've all gotten very used to Zoom. You know?
We have. But and it's a huge tool if you're meeting with people far and wide, but not that far away. I love it in the State House. When you look at the numbers of people who are listening in on the committee, you know, the rooms themselves maybe hold, what, 8 or 10 people at the max? Oh, yeah.
And now there's 45, 50 people.
Oh, it's great.
It's
and
cool.
It's recorded, so you can go back and listen to it again. Yeah. And I think that is the silver lining of COVID.
It's just good they can't hear me.
And I haven't had a respiratory cold since
really?
COVID
Sure.
because I haven't had to go into those petri dish rooms and listen
right
to the
on
testimony.
Top of people. Yeah. I just yell a lot, and my husband comes up and goes, ah. Anyway, let me read you a little bit about Rob. We've known each other for a few years.
Way back.
Yeah, way back in the good old days, as I say. Rob is a freelance journalist who has been involved with Vermont politics and policy for over 20 years. That's where we're dating ourselves. And is responsible for producing Behind the Lines, publishing newsletters on Substack. A lot of people are doing that. I have to look into that. I'm very excited about this. He's now a host on WDEV for Vermont Viewpoint. I love that, and I'm glad you're doing it. And he appears on Vermont Daily Chronicles podcast with Guy
Page and Paul Bean.
I almost said Guy Benson. That's a name from the past, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my word. Guy Page. Sorry, Guy. Anyway, you were on the show about 3 months ago, and we showed some of your paintings.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a great, Rob is an outstanding artist. And he brought in some of his paintings, which was just wonderful. Anyway, but I called you back up because you wrote wrote an article about something that I've been very upset about the right to sue the state, and I wanted to talk to you about it, so I called you up, and here you are.
Sure, yeah, and I've written more than one article about that right to sue provision in the global. It's part of the Global Warming Solutions Act. It was passed in 2020, and it is sort of the umbrella law for a lot of policies that exist underneath that umbrella to meet the standards of the Global Warming Solutions Act. Basically what they did is when they passed the Global Warming Solutions Act, it set the greenhouse gas reduction mandates for the state with targets at 2025, target at 2030, and another at 2050 for how much we have to reduce our greenhouse gases. But it didn't say how to do it in any way, shape, or form. And they passed these mandates not knowing if it could be done. They passed these mandates not knowing if it was even logistically possible, if it was affordable, how much it would cost. They just say, hey, we're doing this thing.
Because it's the right
totally
thing to do.
Cart before the horse.
Right.
Terrible, irresponsible way to legislate, but that's what they did. And the kicker is the thing that you brought me in to talk about, is if we don't do these things that they didn't know how much it would cost, if it was even logistically possible, anybody in the state, they give standing to sue. And if the state if we don't do it, you're going to lose this suit because you didn't do it. We have to pay.
That's pretty easy to prove.
Yeah.
You either do it or you don't do it.
Yeah, either do it or you don't.
It's not like you can argue yourself out of it.
Yeah, well, we get stuck with the lawyer bills. We, the taxpayers of Vermont, get stuck with the lawyer bills, not just to defend the case. The Attorney General is going to have to defend the case. And we have to pay the lawyer bills for the people who bring the suit.
Now, without the law, could they sue anyway if they had it depends on who, right?
Yeah, and this is the argument that you will hear from the people who put this in there is, oh, anybody can sue the state for any reason at any time. But the thing is, in order to sue the state successfully, you have to prove standing or establish standing. And in order to establish standing, you have to demonstrate that you were harmed.
Right.
And nobody is going to be able to establish standing without this provision in the law because there's no harm. If we did, so what?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. we didn't meet the 2025 deadline for greenhouse gas reduction. Yeah. How were you harmed by that? Well, nobody was.
Right.
Nobody was harmed. In fact, probably it inflict more harm if they had actually succeeded in doing it, because it would drive up the cost of energy, drive up the cost of doing business. So that's what it does. They give standing to anybody who wants to sue.
Now, we've already been sued.
We have been sued.
Yeah.
We have been sued by the Conservation Law Foundation. Actually, happily, the state did win that case because, and it was thrown out by the courts because it was not based on whether or not you fulfilled the 2025 numbers. They were suing based on how the Agency of Natural Resources was going about the job of meeting the target, and questioning the methodology that they were using to gauge whether or not they were successful in meeting the goal. So what the court said in that case is that's not what gives you don't have the right to sue on that ground. ANR is the agency of record on this. They get to decide how they're going to do it.
Right.
And so long as they're doing it something, then you can't sue based on these procedural things. So we will know in 2027 officially whether or not we met the 2025 deadlines, because it'll take them 2 years to gather the data, evaluate the data, and make a final determination.
And then they'll file a lawsuit.
And then they'll file a lawsuit. And they've already said we haven't made it. They've already said we missed it by like 6%, and we're going to miss the 2030 deadline by like 30%.
And do you have any idea how much this is going to cost us? I'm assuming
no, but
money.
it's going to be a lot of money, because in the article that you read, this lawsuit that we won, and the judge does have the power, I think, even if they lost the suit, to say, well, it was a reasonable case, so we're going to award you. I haven't seen that they've done that yet, but it was like 10 months, 10 months, and they printed the court record of it with bullet points on everything that was done. On this date, something was filed. On this date, there was a hearing. On this date, there was a deposition. All that is, lawyers charge a lot of money.
Right.
And there are lawyers on both sides of each one of those bullet points over a 10-month period. And it's, we paid the defense for this case, we the taxpayers.
Aren't we wonderful?
And we could be on the hook. I don't think they will put us on the hook for the plaintiff's case. But when we go through this whole process again in 2027, we're going to lose. And then you've got these cases can go along until 2050.
Is anything that's happening in Washington impacting our ability to meet these goals?
Oh, sure. I mean, because most of the money that we spend something like $500 million on greenhouse gas emissions projects in the state, but the majority of it, I think like 80% of it, is federal money. And the Trump administration is cutting that money off, saying, "No, we're not spending it on that anymore.
Right.
We're not going to subsidize the electric vehicle purchases. We're not going to subsidize the electric vehicle infrastructure stuff. We're not subsidizing putting solar on your house, and we're not, wind, all that stuff." So a lot of the things that, we're not doing enough in Vermont on our own. That 20% doesn't come close.
Right.
To meeting any of these goals. We're not coming close now, even with the federal money. So to think that we're going to not only expand the Vermont spending on greenhouse gas reduction initiatives and backfill what the federal government had been doing up until the Trump administration is pure fantasy. I mean, we don't have money to do.
You're making me laugh.
We don't have money to do, half the things that we should be doing.
Right.
Things that are priority. We got an education funding crisis that we can't afford. We have a housing crisis. We have an opioid crisis. We have a health care crisis. I mean, our hospitals are going bankrupt. Our insurance is going through the roof. And so if they think that they're going to find $1 billion a year to spend on these initiatives, they're in la la land.
Do you think does this legislature have the ability to go back and redo that law?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, right? So
of course. I mean, they're the legislature. They pass the law. They can amend them. That's kind of the funny thing. The hilarious. Oh well, we need to do these things because it's in the law. Well, change the law.
Exactly.
Rewrite the law.
Because we're going to get. Well, I almost said a word you shouldn't say on it, but we're going to get in trouble for this. It's going to be very expensive. Because what you left out of that list is Lake Champlain. And if we don't get our act together on the environmental people from the feds are coming in.
Yeah, that's.
And they're not going to care how much they spend. They're
Yeah.
just going to fix it.
That's not the Global Warming Solutions Act. That's a totally different environmental
yeah, I know, but
thing. But yes, that the list of things that I said that we have a huge expense that we have to do.
Yeah.
And that drives me. I mean, I don't know what they're even doing as far as fixing Lake Champlain.
Yeah, they put money in,
I mean,
but
it's
nothing
millions
happens.
and millions of dollars every year, and I don't know what they're
Can you
doing.
imagine draining Lake Champlain to get rid of the milfoil?
Well, the simplest thing I've seen, and I'm not a scientist, I don't know how this works, but they have these floating, like little gardens that they do. You take, it's like a big styrofoam platform, and you put seeds in it, and then it grows, and the seeds suck all the phosphate out of the water. Now, you'd need a lot of those for something, for a body of water as big as Lake Champlain, but if you put a bunch of those in Mallett's Bay for a year, it's not expensive. You grow stuff on it. I mean, you could grow a cash crop on it. I mean, you could either pick something to grow on the on these things that maximizes the amount of stuff. I don't know if that's something you could sell at a farmer's market, but you could put corn. I mean, just something like that.
Grow something.
Grow something that could maybe pay for the thing. And I've been saying this for 15 years. Why don't you just try this?
Right. Just a few a year. See what happens.
Like Carmi, where you really got a problem. Just try it and see if it works. And nobody's taking me up on it.
Well, it's going to hit us one day, and they're all going to be sitting there with their eyes like deer in headlight. But anyway, we digress.
We do digress.
It will be another show very soon because I'm working on it. But anyway, so before we get into some of the specifics that I'd like to talk to you about, can you sort of look at the last session and how you thought it went, and then what's happening come January 26th?
I
don't get too depressed. Just gonna.
I was hoping for a little bit more action on the part of the Republicans. I think there was some great movement on the Global Warming Solutions Act, and really the Clean Heat Standard, which is one of I said the Global Warming Solutions Act is the umbrella. Under the umbrella is the Clean Heat Standard, the Renewable Energy Standard, the Transportation Climate Initiative, which is sort of defunct, but a cap and invest program, which they're looking at to replace the Clean Heat Standard if that doesn't take off when it comes back. But the Republicans in the Senate, led by Senator Terry Williams of Rutland, did put in a motion on the floor of the Senate to relieve his committee, the Energy and Natural Resources and Energy Committee in the Senate, of a bill to repeal the Clean Heat Standard. Because if you recall, the big reason the Democrats lost 18 seats in the House and 6 in the Senate was because of the Clean Heat Standard, that and property taxes. And everybody promised when they were running, we're going to have a vote on whether to move forward with the Clean Heat Standard or not when we come back in January.
Right.
They never had the vote. The vote got bottled up because the Democrats didn't want to go on the record killing the law. They want to keep that law in place, dormant.
They're not going to be taken up.
They need to flip a switch. They need to pass rules to run the program through the Public Utilities Commission. So they want to keep that on ice until they get their supermajorities back, or a majority and a Democratic governor who will sign.
But they can't only
it.
keep it active or dormant during the biennium, right? Do you have to?
No, it's a law. It's the Clean Heat Standard is Act 18.
So it's there.
It's a law. All it is waiting for is for rules to be come up with by the Public Utilities Commission and passed by the legislature. So that's there, and they're just I call it's like the vampire law. It's in its coffin, and they're waiting for the nighttime to come on. The next nighttime that comes up when it comes out. And what the Republicans tried to do with the vampire is open the crate and put a stake through its heart, and it's done for good. And that's what Terry Williams did. He tried to relieve the committee of the bill to repeal it, and the Democrats shot it down on a party line vote. So I thought that was a good get him on the record. But the House never did anything along those lines. I heard from them, oh yeah, we're going to do that, but they never did. So I thought that was a little disappointing that they weren't more aggressive on getting rid of that and calling the Democrats and the progressives out on some of these policies that they had won on. And my other big disappointment was I really do not like the tack that they've taken with this education finance reform.
Oh, really?
At all.
What's the concern you have?
Oh, concerns.
Yeah, right, forever.
The thing that my biggest concern is it doesn't do anything for property taxes.
Right.
Nothing, certainly in the short term, nothing in the medium term, and in the
Right.
long term, it's well, maybe kind of, we'll see when we get there, in terms of property tax relief. And I think they really dropped the ball. I mean, you saw people at the last election standing around on the street corners with the signs that said what percentage their property taxes went up.
Right.
That's what the election was all about.
Right.
Fix that. Nobody asked for this total restructuring of the public education system. I think that people would accept a lot of the things in public education being restructured
Right.
if the payoff
Yeah,
was
lower.
property tax relief.
Right.
But right now they're saying, well, we're asking you to give up your right to vote on your school budgets. We're going to take that over at the state level. We are asking you to get rid of your local school boards, which is your conduit to local control right now, and we're going to go to these larger regional districts where you're going to have.
Yeah,
the
I do,
paid-
just for the record, the governor's proposal of 5 is ridiculous. Sorry. It's too
Well,
big. It's just ridiculous. I
Yeah,
think.
well, 5 or 14 or 10,
Right.
you're still asking people to give up local control
Right.
and their local school board, which is how most people, you got a problem, that's who you call. And do you want to call somebody who's from 15 towns over,
Right, like they know
who who you don't know? It's going to turn those larger school district elections into major events, because they're talking about between 4,000 and 8,000 students in a district. So that is, if you break that down into the number of households in a district,
Right.
you're looking at something roughly the size of Addison County,
Wow.
the Addison County Senate district. If you do 14,
We did, the campaign for Vermont
Yeah.
proposed 14, with the tech centers in the middle of it.
yep,
which-
and that made a lot more sense as supervisory unions.
Yes, right.
Because
Not
that's where the problem is, from my perspective. It's at the supervisory union level. That's where all the excess bureaucracy is. You don't need 52 supervisory unions to oversee 109 school districts. That's the problem. I don't see the problem with the 109
There's some
school
serious
districts.
salaries in the supervisory
Oh yeah,
level. Whoa.
they make a lot of money. That's where the money is. That's where the bureaucratic bloat is.
Right.
That's they're doing things that they're supposed to be like helping the businesses
Meld it together.
do money. So nobody asked for this stuff, and you're asking the taxpayers to give up all of these things
Right.
for what? Where's the payoff for me, the taxpayer? So I think that they really are putting themselves in a bind when they come back in 2026, because
Haven't people fought back on and we will make your budget for you and you can't vote on it anymore? What, aren't people going nuts over that?
well, no, people
I
don't
would
like
be.
that. And I actually like the foundation formula, because
Yeah.
I think the problem with our education system right now is that the local people vote on the school budget, and then the legislature has to find the money no matter what it is.
Right.
So nobody knows what the total budget is ever going to be, because you've got all these 109 school districts voting on
That's true.
different budgets.
Hard to explain to those
And then-
people when it comes back.
Yeah,
And it's-
and it creates this dynamic. Well, I don't want to cut my budget, and they're going to raise their budget, and I'm going to pay taxes to raise their budget. So
Right.
it's just like when you go out to dinner with a bunch of people and you've agreed to split the check. Everybody's ordering the steak because nobody wants to get stuck paying for your steak while they get a salad.
Yeah, right.
So that's the dynamic and the teachers unions love it. The superintendents love it. The public school bureaucracy loves this dynamic because it makes sure the money keeps flowing to them. So I'm in favor, and if you can't have that returning the budget making and the tax paying to the locality because of
Right.
Brigham, the only way that you get the responsibility for both setting the budget and raising the money is if it goes back to the legislature. So again, I would trade
Yeah.
my ability to vote on my local school budget and give it to the legislature with them responsible for it if it meant property tax relief.
Really, right.
But unless there's a guarantee that I'm getting property tax relief, I'm not giving up my right to vote on my budget. That's sort of my own personal psychology of how that's going to work.
I remember one year we worked so hard in Berlin to explain how it all works, and which is hard for even me. I was part of the explaining part, and I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. But anyway, then people that year really, in the school, really looked at their budget and got it down. And they were so proud of themselves. Then it went to the state, and their percentage came back higher.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to explain to people that what they did really didn't matter much.
Yeah, I mean that's the way the system is totally messed up.
Right.
The Act, I call it Act 60 plus.
Yeah.
You know, ever since we've done Act 60,
Right.
Act 153, Act 68, they're all come along. Act 46, and it works like a Swiss watch. If you look at it from the perspective of how are we going to extract the most amount of money from the taxpayers with the least amount of accountability possible. It works like a Swiss watch.
Right.
If you're looking at it from a taxpayer or a parent or perspective,
Right.
like is this a common sense way to raise enough money to educate 80,000 kids? It's insane.
Yeah.
But this is what they're doing. And the crazy thing is they put this task force together, this redistricting task, and it's made up of all the people that have caused the problems. It's made up of the superintendents, the
Right.
principals association, the business
Same old,
managers
right?
union in there. It's the foxes in charge of the chicken
Yeah.
coop, and I don't think they're gonna be able to come up with a map or three
Right.
maps or whatever it is that anybody's going to go for. And I think that I think the Democrats' plan is to kill this thing. Let all the unpopular things get aired out for as long as possible, kill it, and then come up with a property tax relief plan of their own based on switching to the income tax, which I do not think is a good policy. But what worries me is with no plan B from the Republicans, people might go
And
for it.
income tax would hit everybody, right? Renters and
Well, they would probably
They'd have
do it
a minimum, right?
progressive.
Yeah.
They'd probably, if the Democrats are in control, they'd probably do a progressive income tax that
Right.
would, really whack the wealthy as
Right.
as everybody says it does. But it's such a volatile tax because, A, the wealthy can move and take their money with them,
Yep.
and if you have a downturn in the stock market, what happens?
right.
Because that's where a lot of the income comes in, and it's very up and very down.
Yep.
So it creates a lot of problems.
Wonderful. So excited about this.
Yeah.
This is great. All right, so let's just hit some of the real points that have been talked about for the last year or so or more. I just want we mentioned housing. What did you think about the final housing bill? Good, bad, indifferent, or fix it?
I didn't really follow the housing bill all that closely to dive into the weeds of what
Yeah.
they're spending on. What I've looked at over the past is I don't like the fact that they're trying to make it. I like the fact that they're trying to make it easier to build in existing municipalities.
Right.
I forget what's the term they used. Concentrated.
Oh, yes, I know what you mean, but I don't remember.
But I do not like the fact that they're making it nearly impossible to build outside in more rural areas, which is where we really need the economic
Right.
growth, is in the rural parts of the state. And that's also the cheapest place to build housing because,
Right.
it's cheaper land,
Yep.
and that's the big cost. So I think that if you really want housing, affordable housing, you have to deregulate to the point where it makes sense for private investment to want to come in and build housing because they can make money doing it. Right now,
Yeah,
the way
if you change some of the Act 250 laws, maybe.
yeah,
Right.
you really have to overhaul Act
Yeah.
250 in ways that they're not willing to do it. Right now, this is the way it works in Vermont is people can't afford housing, so they regulate out the private investment that can build, so they can't build affordable housing. I think you had Mark Higley on your show the other
I
day.
did. It was great.
Yeah, I don't know if he brought in, but I talked to him. I had him on the radio show at WDV, and he's got this stack of new regulations that put like $18,000 on top of the $40,000 that it already costs just to build a house. Well, when it's $60,000 just in regulations, it's no wonder you can't build affordable housing. So then we have to, as taxpayers, subsidize the building of the, in quotes, affordable housing that's not really affordable. And because it's, you're making like $500,000 for an affordable apartment,
Right.
which isn't really affordable, then you have to subsidize the rent of the people because they can't actually afford what the rent would have to be in order to cover the cost of building the housing. So we're getting sort of whacked from both ends of that equation, and that's just not sustainable.
Yeah. I know the initial bill itself was really out to lunch. I was a little bit better with what they actually passed, but unless they changed the rules and regulations, when I was in the Department of Labor, builders and stuff would say to me, all we want, this is the word they used, was predictability. How much is it going to cost us, and when? I mean, how long is it going to take? We couldn't answer those questions for them. You just had to, oh, that's another 150, and that's this and that. And they just said, tell us what and when. But we can't do that. They got really frustrated with us.
Yeah, no, I remember the Walmart up in St. Albans, but it took them like 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
20 years to build. I mean, that's not housing, but
Oh, it's still building.
it's still building.
Yeah, really. No, I thought that was terrible. They were begging, like just, and I think GovOps spent a whole year, a couple of years ago, trying to fix. It wasn't GovOps, can't be. One of the environmental committees actually tried to fix Act 250. There was so much disagreement. Nobody wanted to sit down and fix it.
Yeah.
And they didn't. At the end of the year, it was like, forget it, waste of a year. I don't know why that's so hard. Anyway, let's talk about independent schools. That's one of my favorite ones. Last year seemed to me they were sort of trying to get the independent schools out of the way.
Oh, they largely succeeded in this education bill.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
They have largely succeeded.
And their rationale is they want the money as opposed to the benefits of an independent school?
Yes. I mean, that's basically what
Well,
I
there
mean.
you
Well,
go.
the teachers' unions and
Yeah.
the superintendents' unions and the principals' association, they want all the money. All the money going
to make
in.
it work, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
me
like
money.
it's such a small percentage. I think it's about 4%
that'll
of the students in the state attend an independent school on the taxpayer dime. It's a drop in the bucket
Right.
compared to the $2.4 billion education budget that they have. But they want all the money, and they despise the fact that the independent schools are doing, in
Better.
many cases, a better job
Right.
for less money.
Right.
And what happened with this education bill is they put in a whole bunch of provisions that limit the number of independent schools that can continue to participate in the tuitioning program. They block any new independent schools from coming into the tuitioning system. They are kind of stuck with the four academies, the four historical academies, St. Johnsbury, Burton, Linden Institute, and Thetford, because there's no public school alternative that can replace them.
Right.
So they're stuck with them, although they can't stand the fact that they're stuck with them. So they put in all these weird provisions. It's like you have to have at least 25% of your student body be tuitioned in, or you're not eligible to take any tuitioning anymore. And I think, I know the original bill, I have to check to make sure it's still in the final bill, but they eliminated all the elementary and middle school participation in the tuitioning program. So it's just high school, I believe.
Really?
So that kills, the Riverside School up in the Kingdom, the Thaddeus Stevens School, a couple of grades at Sharon Academy, I think a couple of grades at the Long Trail School. I think they have like 6th through 12th. I could be wrong about that. But so yeah, it's a real torpedo. And of course, the real reason that they want to do it is they want to get after the Carson v. Macon Supreme Court decision that forced them to allow tuitioning dollars to go to the religious schools.
Ah, right. That was a biggie.
That 25% number was really aimed at the religious schools because since they just began to take tuitioning, they haven't built up to that 25% threshold yet. So they're all out, and it's like, oh well, we're not discriminating against religion. It just happens to be 25%, and none of the religious schools meet that qualification. So, what a coincidence.
Graniteville, Websterville Baptist Church and school moved into on my street, and they've since gone back to Graniteville, but I taught civics for a year. It was a long story how I got started doing that. And then I was on the show telling people that sometimes the parents would come, depending on what I was talking about, because they had no clue how a bill is made and all this other stuff. But those kids were so well behaved. And I was in the classroom one time, and they're all running around, and the teacher blows a whistle, and 2 seconds later, everyone is sitting down, book open, facing. I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing what they accomplished, and we don't like it.
Yeah, no, in fact, I interviewed a bunch of kids from Websterville School a few years back when
Cool.
when they used to it was a school choice week. They came and they had a big event down at the Capitol Plaza
Right,
here in
yep,
Montpelier. And so I got to interview a bunch of the kids and some of the teachers from Websterville. And here's what I'll say about those kids. They're really articulate. They know what they're doing.
Right.
And you want to talk about diversity?
Yeah.
They always say, "Oh, you know, these schools they're not diverse."
Oh, yes, they are.
These kids, I have not seen a more diverse class in any school I've visited.
All well behaved.
And they're well behaved because
Good morning, Mrs. McDonald. Like, whoa, what's up with
and that's
yo Pat?
that's a mission driven school.
Yeah.
And you know.
And they like it. It's
And
not
they
that
like
they
it.
don't like being treated like that. They actually like the school, and they're so tight. The kids themselves have such a bond. It's amazing to me.
And you know, another thing about the kids in the independent schools and that school, a lot of their stories when I interview them is like, well, I was being bullied in my public school, and they couldn't do anything about it. They wouldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So my parents pulled me out of there and they put me in here. And I think that's again why you see the bond because these kids because now they're in a kind environment
And supported.
and supported and they understand.
Yep.
They have had the empathy literally beaten into them
I was
by their
very
experience.
impressed.
No, it was terrific.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope somebody's yelling and screaming. Is
Well,
there a group?
but again, you know, you'd expect the Republicans to go to bat for the independent schools and school choice, and it was the Republicans that pushed this bill, this education restructuring bill. It was the governor's plan. It was a bill that was, you know, sponsored in the legislature by
Right.
Republican leadership, and in the Senate it passed with more Republican votes than Democratic votes.
And the Republicans didn't do anything about independent schools?
And they threw the independent schools under the bus in the course of passing this bill. I don't understand why.
Well, that leaves me with the jaw open. I better find out about that. Don't know where I was. Oh, that's terrible. Shame on us or them. Okay, so a couple of other things you wrote about was talking about EV pollution.
Oh, that was a fun one.
That was cool.
That got a lot of comments. It sprung out of the radio show because actually I did a couple of radio shows with Kevin Ellis. And Kevin is
he's so cool.
He comes from the left perspective,
Right.
and I come from the right perspective. He hosts Fridays, and I host Tuesdays. So we decided we'd have each other on each other's show, and call it a cage match conversation. Although it was very civil and very fun to do, and we were talking about saving the planet. You know,
Right.
why are we spending all this? I was saying, why are we spending all this money on subsidizing electric vehicles? I mean, nobody's subsidized my Subaru. It gets great gas mileage.
Right.
Nobody's given me $7,000 to go out and buy a car. Why should I have to pay fees or higher gas taxes or federal taxes or subsidies or electric bills to subsidize your electric car? That doesn't make any sense. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And he got into the whole thing about, well, we're saving the planet and the environment. So, well, you're really not, because the things that are healthy, I mean, CO2 is not a gas that hurts human beings. It's a plant food. It doesn't cause any harm to us. What's dangerous about internal combustion engine vehicles is the tailpipe emissions.
Right.
And we've done such a good job with technology of limiting tailpipe emissions coming out of internal combustion engines that they're almost non-existent at this point. The particulate matter pollution, which is what's dangerous to human health and animal health and ecological health, is coming off tires now.
Oh.
Because what tires, that rubber and chemicals and all that stuff in there,
expands
when you wear them off,
Yeah.
that stuff goes somewhere. Goes into the air, goes into the ground, goes from the ground into the water. It's like a lot of the microplastics that we're dealing with come off the tires. And because EVs are about 30% heavier than comparable internal combustion engine vehicles, they wear out tires faster. And in some cases, they have tires that are more chemically, make them harder or whatever they do for the electric vehicle, because they're heavier, have more stuff in them that's bad. So the amount of pollution, real pollution that affects human health, ecological health, animal health, is worse from electric vehicles because of the tires.
I'm sorry, that's funny.
And and Kevin was sort of blown away by that.
Yeah.
And he's like, didn't believe it. So I say, well, okay, I'll send you the data.
Yeah.
And sending him the data, I say, I bet you my readers would be interested in this too. So I wrote an article about it.
Good job.
And it got some. Oh my gosh, I never knew that.
Well, somebody better bring it up soon, because I don't think with what's happening in Washington, we're going to have to kill ourselves over the EV issue, do you? I don't think.
No, I think it looks like they're cutting the federal subsidy for
Yeah.
and good,
So-
because it's not, taking all the ecological stuff aside. It is not the role of government to pick and choose what cars people make,
Right.
what cars people want to buy, what cars people want to use. Make me pay for your car.
I took an electric truck home when I was in motor vehicles, and I plugged it into the house plug. I walk in the house, and the whole house is.
Oh no.
Oh yes. Asked me if Bruce was really thrilled with me. You have to have a special plug.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just went dink, and the whole thing just.
Yeah, you need to have that high amp, like
Yeah.
200 amp or
I found that out.
something. And
I could have blew the box downstairs.
and that's one of the issues with it. I mean, talk with. I'm sure you probably had Matt Coda on the show.
Oh, a lot.
from time to
He's
time.
coming on next week. Actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If you don't have that 200 amp and you buy an electric car, your life
Yeah.
revolves around figuring out how to get the thing charged.
Right.
It's like where where do I go to? You have to sit in the car. And there was a story from a woman down, I think it was in the Brattleboro area, who had been talked into an electric car by one of the dealers who has a mandate to
Right, to
sell
sell,
a certain
right.
percentage of electric cars. Oh, you got to get this thing. Well, she didn't have the plug in her. I don't know if it was because she was in an apartment and there was just no place to
Right.
do it. So this poor woman sitting in the middle of December with her kids in the car for an
no
hour a day at a charging station with the car running because they're going to freeze to death if they don't do it.
Right.
So the heat is pulling down the battery at the same
like
time she's
just going,
charging.
right.
So and this was her life. It's like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we go to Gettysburg. I think you know that a
Yeah.
lot. And we were trying to figure out how long it will take us now, if you have an electric car, to stop and get charged. I mean, you're going to have to add a couple of hours to
Yeah.
your trip, and sit in the car like this poor woman was doing.
Yeah. No, thank
I
you.
don't think so. I like the what do they call them? Gas and electric.
The hybrids.
Hybrid. Thank you. That makes sense to me. I would buy that, but I wouldn't buy a straight electric car.
Yeah, my son just bought his first car ever, and it was a hybrid.
Oh, good for
and,
him.
And yeah, he lives out in Seattle, where it's like $6 a gallon for gas. And,
Oh,
and he
wow.
was like, "Yeah, I'm getting a hybrid,
Yeah.
Dad."
Does he like it?
He loves it. He
Yeah,
loves
see,
it.
I would like the, because it's got a Plan B attached to it.
Yeah.
If you can't get it charged, you just go to gas. That's cool. Anyway, okay. I love this list you've got here. This is amazing. Vermont Republicans need a Plan B for when the school redistribution scheme explodes.
Yeah, well,
But
we've,
is that-
we've been talking about that.
It's just gonna.
Yeah, again, what I think the Democrats are going, I take the chessboard, turn it around.
Right.
If I were on their side, what would I do? They didn't vote for it. I heard Martine Gulick, who's a senator from Chittenden County and a member of was or is a member of one of the school associations, a teachers union or
Oh,
supervisor
okay.
union, I forget which one, sat on the education committee, is now on the finance committee, and she was saying, well, this is the governor's plan. This is the governor's plan. This is based on the governor's plan.
Right.
So they don't want any ownership of it. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to wait until everybody, all through next session, when they're talking about these maps, and everybody gets to start paying
Oh, yes,
attention
right.
again. And I don't want to be in a
Excuse me.
huge district the
Yeah,
size
no.
of Addison County, and where I have to vote for a school board member from 15 towns over who I
Right,
don't know.
right.
And
And certainly not attend the school board meetings.
yeah.
Who's gonna go?
yeah, who's going to travel an hour to attend a
Right,
school board
excuse me.
meeting? So I think they're just going to let this thing stew until everybody is opposed to it. In fact, there was an article in Vermont Digger the other day about a group up in the Northeast Kingdom that is organizing to be a pain in the butt, I think is what they said. Be a big pain about this to our legislators until it goes away. Because what happens is, if it goes away, then if they can't agree on a map, the whole thing died. Well,
Right.
I shouldn't say the whole thing died. The Democrats get what they want because all the stuff about independent schools we were just talking about stays at the law. So they get everything they want. They get to beat the Republicans up over everything that's bad in this bill. They get to kill the bill, but they get to kill the program moving forward, the
that
reforms,
stays.
but they keep the scalps of the independent schools that they got. And so I think Republicans really just need to.
How do we get them to stand up and be counted?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
They don't do that very well.
They need to hear it from their constituents that, hey, you have to come up with a property tax relief plan going into 2026.
Right. I can imagine an article in Campaign for Vermont soon. That'd be good. Get people to pay attention.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that doesn't get out to the public. And I do think some of them would get a little upset if they really understood what's happening. You know, we're doing a 15-minute, we're doing 2 a week talking about the bills. It's just 15 minutes. One Ben does and one I do. And people have been paying attention because it's 15 minutes. Sometimes when it's longer, unless they're interested, they don't really pay attention.
Yeah, the little short ones.
Yeah, as long as you can, but talking about independent schools might do it. I think they're great.
They are.
Anyway, so we talked about, I like this. The NEA is not your great-grandmother's organization. It has changed a little, hasn't it?
It has. Who was it? Albert. Well, in some ways it has, in some ways it hasn't. It was Albert Shanker back in, I think it was the 1980s, who was the head of American Federation of Teachers, I think, the largest teachers union in the country. And he famously said, I will start representing the interests of school children when they start paying their union dues.
Great.
And
excellent.
That has not changed.
Yeah, right.
That has not changed in forever. And, you know, I can't blame them. That's their job.
And I was going to say that.
You know, the teachers union's job is to represent teachers. It's to get more money
Not the kids.
for the teachers, less responsibility in the classroom,
Right.
less time doing it, more time off. So you really need to have some sort of balance that putting them in their place, and that doesn't exist in
Who is it?
Montpelier today.
Joel.
Oh, it used to be Joel Cook.
Joel
now
Cook.
it's
Yeah,
now it's
I know he's gone.
Yeah.
But he believed that 100%, and he'd be in committees. You can tell what he was fighting for, not the kids.
Oh no, not the kids.
Yeah.
In fact, I was listening to it. Somebody was talking about the teachers union. And it was single payer health care. It's like where were the teachers unions on single payer health care? And I remember because when I was at the Ethan Allen Institute, I was in that committee room before they did it on Zoom with my little video camera, and I had Joel Cook on camera saying that the teachers unions have put a lot of time, effort, and money into promoting single payer health care with the expectation that we do not have to participate in it.
What? How? What?
I'm paraphrasing. He wasn't that explicit, but if you watch the video, it's like a 1 minute and 50-second. And I sent it to the guys on the radio. I said, this was their position. It was like, no, we have our benefits. Our benefits don't get touched.
Yep.
We're doing your bidding for you. Going out there and tell everybody this is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
But for them, not us.
For you, not me.
Wow, that's Joel.
And that's the kind of mentality that's in there. And again, they are running the show. It's the you know, when they put the first committee together on that was supposed to look at how are we going to reform education to cut down on the property tax crisis that we're facing, it was a majority of the teachers union, the superintendents union, the principals association, the school boards association, and I always forget the name of the group that represents the business people within the schools, the administrators.
I don't know.
But they were a majority on the committee, so they had a voting majority on the committee. Nothing was going to pass out of that committee that interfered with their interests, the Albert Shanker interests of.
Wow.
We'll start looking after the kids when
when they pay dues.
when they start paying dues.
Well, he's being honest. That was it.
He was being honest, and people,
I had an issue
people
with
need
Joel.
to remember that.
When I was Commissioner of Personnel, under Governor Snelling, we hated something. I mean, we hated it. So I went into the committee, we hate it. Next year, we had Governor Dean, and he loved it. So he told me to go in. I said, I can't. I can't go in 1 year later and say we love it. So I wrote a letter from Howard to the committee, and he said in the letter how much he loved it. and Joel Cook was sitting. He was almost right in my face. He said, "I can't believe this." I said, "Howard Dean, Joel, Howard Dean," and that's how I got out of it. But he just thought that was the funniest thing. I heard about it all year. He was like, "Where's that letter, Pat?" But you have credibility. You get shot doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know.
It's tough.
Yeah, I know what it was. It was something union fees that they were going to charge exempts because the union, we benefit from when the union bargains the contract, exempts get benefit of all that stuff, so they were going to charge us. I forget what they call it, but anyway, we.
Oh yeah, there was a recent, not so recent anymore, Supreme Court case that ended that.
Oh
practice,
really?
that ended that
Oh,
practice.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was I think it was only $5 or something, but it still was the idea of it all. Oh, that's cool to know. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Substack while we've got a few. You have had some amazing articles in there, and a lot of people are on Substack. Could you explain to them what's, because you've got things called, you've got different titles of your work under Substack.
Yeah, it's Substack is it's a platform for journalists, writers, podcasters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's expanding, so you can. I just do like basically blog type posts on there, magazine articles. But it was founded by former editors of, I can't remember which major magazines. But anyway, their staff was becoming so woke and saying, "Oh, you can't. We don't want you publishing stuff that says this," or and so they actually left the magazines that they founded and created Substack, which is for writers who want editorial freedom over what they write. And I don't know how many people are on it now, but it's got to be tens of thousands of people who are on there, and it allows you to monetize. They create a website for you. Just sort of automatically, I guess it's algorithmically. So I just have to go in and say I want to create a post, a text post. I cut and paste my stuff in there. I can put some little buttons in there, say subscribe, share, put pictures in there. I can do video, import video from YouTube or import video directly if I want to have some video, and then I hit publish, and it creates an email list for me of everybody who subscribes to it, so I can go in and see who subscribes, and it takes care of transactions if people want to subscribe with a paid subscription. I have free subscriptions for, I don't block any of the content out. The only thing I make, the benefit of being a paid subscriber is, A, I'm going to keep doing this, and B, you're allowed to comment if you're a paid subscriber. I don't let non-paying subscribers comment on my post because I figure there has to be some incentive, some benefit to doing it. But I want people to read what I write because I think it's important to get some of this information out.
And there's a lot of people that read it because I watch you and I watch Meredith Angwin on nuclear power.
Yeah, she's great. The Electric Grandma
she
is
moved
her handle.
Out of Vermont.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's in Teaneck, New Jersey. I'm so upset. We brought her she and George to lunch right before they left. I said, "You're not leaving this state unless you let me take you out to lunch."
Oh, I didn't know she'd moved out.
I'm so upset.
Yeah, me too.
I just loved her. I said,
I still love her, even if she's in Teaneck.
I do too, but I want to keep in touch with her because, well, they're closer to their family.
Yeah.
And they're in a not independent. It's just a place for elderly people, and dinner's paid for it. Dinner's made.
Senior living,
And I think she's younger than me actually, but I always felt like she was my mom. I really, really love that woman.
She's brilliant.
You should have seen when Ben met her for the first time because she looks like everybody's grandmother. And I'm building her up about how much she knows about nuclear power and that she was on all these committees. And so she walks in and Ben's like, "What?" And he looked at me and was like, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "Just wait, ask her a question." So that started it. He asked her one question and he calmed down because within that brain of hers is she is amazing.
Well, that's a book her book, Shorting the Grid, is something that everybody should read.
Yes, absolutely.
It's short and
it's easy to read.
Easy to read and understand, and really explains some of the problems that we're creating for ourselves in this state with how we're handling
And she's got another book out, and I forget something about air is in it. It's about running a campaign for nuclear. But you could use that book for any campaign, any election, anything you want to get. It was a great Bible of what to do to get your message across. And in her case, it happened to be nuclear power, but it could be anything. It was great. She has the ability to talk to you like you're not an idiot, and I love that about her because she'll take the time to explain it without making you feel like you should have known this in the first place. But anyway, I digress. But I'm sad she's gone. I just have to keep in touch. Oh, and there I read this thing, and you talked about it. I have to say something because I was in motor vehicles. New Hampshire will eliminate mandatory annual vehicle safety inspections as of the 26th.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing. And that was another one that got a lot of comments because, I mean, I just paid to have my car inspected. My wife just did, and it was $70 to do it.
Right.
And so $140 for my household on the year, that's money.
Yeah, right.
And it's expensive. And if they find anything, luckily, where I go to 802 Subaru, they didn't find anything wrong with my car. It passed the inspection, but my wife said, oh, well, you need to replace those front brakes, which, I hope they're honest, and you need to replace the brakes.
And brakes are important.
Brakes are important. Brakes are important. But that was for, they flag the brakes at the oil change. So it's not like you're not bringing your car in to have somebody look at it regularly because you're getting it every 5,000 miles or 7,000 miles, whatever it is these days for an oil change. But what they found in New Hampshire is they looked at all the states that don't require a vehicle inspection, and countries too. There are countries that don't require a vehicle inspection. Said, all right, is there any statistical difference in the number of accidents or safety issues that occur as a result of some sort of vehicle failure? And the answer was no. So
this is forever. This isn't once the warranty or whatever wears off.
Yeah,
you don't ever have to.
I think in some states it's like you get it inspected the first time you buy it.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Wow.
And it doesn't make a difference per se. So everybody's, oh my God, there'll be chaos on the roads and death and destruction if we don't have the vehicle inspections. But no, if you look at the data, there's no difference. So my wife and I just paid $140 for our two cars, not to make a difference in the safety standards in the state. And that's sort of the way that you got to look at it.
Well, they have talked about it, but you're under warranty or something for X years.
Yeah.
You certainly don't need it during that when you've got a warranty that you can go back to your dealer and then do the inspection maybe, but maybe a staggered one out of every 5 years or something just to double check. I don't know, but they have talked about it, so it's a possibility.
Yeah, but so I hope they'll think it because it's it's the death by 1,000 cuts in Vermont. It's just, you got to pay $170 for your car, and you got to pay $90 to get it registered. And, more than that now.
And do you know, I used to have Mark Higley's now on Ways and Means, and we were talking about the difference between fees and taxes, and I said to him, when you raise every tax and every fee in motor vehicles, that's a tax. I said, I don't care what you call it, it's not a fee. And fees are, you're supposed to prove to the committees that the amount you're asking for in fees will cover the expense in your department. They never ask that.
And that's all it's supposed to cover.
That's all it's supposed to cover.
No
but
more
do
than
they
that.
ever put you on the carpet and say, prove that this will cover your expenses? No, I don't think so. They never did it with me. So something's wrong in Denmark.
It's a revenue grab.
Yeah.
Particularly the last one a couple of years ago when they just raised everything 20%.
Yeah, they did in motor vehicle. And I said, that's a tax. I don't care what you call it because you're hitting everybody.
Yeah,
everybody goes to motor vehicles.
The Secretary of Transportation said, we don't need it.
Yeah,
We don't need the money. Just leave it where it is. And they did it anyway.
Ooh. She says as her heart stops. Really? And they just didn't pay attention?
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. All right. So what else have you been writing about other than the fact that everything's wrong with that party? Vermont Dems.
Oh.
Over the snap attacks?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Going after the nutrition program, the food stamp program, it's why wouldn't you want to make people work if they're able-bodied. And this is what drives me crazy is oh, you're going to put a single mom with 3 kids
Right.
Out of her SNAP benefits. No, that's not who this plan affects. It affects able-bodied people with kids who are 14 years or younger than 14.
Yeah, right.
Or 14 years and younger. So they're in school. So it creates a work requirement for them. So they're not losing it. They may choose to give up their benefit because they don't want to do the work.
Right.
But we have to figure out some way to rein in the costs of these types of benefits, because that's where the money is. And we've got a $37 trillion debt in this nation, and to go in there and try to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse makes absolute sense. Some of the other stuff that's going on with SNAP, I think, is terrific, with the discussions about taking soda off the SNAP benefits and junk food, and of course you get people, well, what's junk food? How do you define junk food? Which is a legitimate argument, but I think it's like pornography. You know it when you see it.
It's that bag of chips.
That bag of chips. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason to sell sugar sweetened beverages and all that stuff for SNAP. Now, if you want to buy it with your own money, I don't think that's the government's business.
Right, yeah.
What you do with your own money, but as long as the taxpayers are footing the bill for this, we should not be subsidizing an obesity crisis.
Fish and vegetables.
Obesity, we have, I mean, look at the healthcare costs going up. I mean, childhood obesity and obesity in the population overall, and the chronic diseases that come with a lot of these nutrition-based chronic diseases. We shouldn't be subsidizing it there and then having to subsidize the healthcare.
There's such a push in Washington, and some of it is scary when he's talking about what's in our food. You're like, why am I eating this? Because you can't read about it anywhere. You just buy it and eat it, and there you go.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with this. I know a lot of store owners have made comments about what people are buying with their with the SNAP coupons and stuff.
And the problem with it, I don't know. Oh, we're running out of time.
Here we are.
But
you got it.
But it's. You don't blame the people who are on the programs. I don't blame them for taking advantage of it.
No.
But this is like big corporation lobbyists. It's Kraft General Foods and Walmart and Kroger's, the big food makers and distributors all want their product to be subsidized by the government through the SNAP program.
Right.
So that's the problem. And even here, if you said we're going to take the sodas out, it's the Grocers Association is going to be the first one in there lobbying for them. And I'm on their side a lot of the time. But they want people to be able to take that government money and spend it in their stores.
Don't you love us? It's so cool. Rob, thank you very much for being on the show.
So much fun. Thank you.
I love Tuesdays. I'm glad you're there. It's a good group of people on Vermont Viewpoint.
Thank you.
It's good. And you can't run out of guests. My God, there's so many people want to be on the radio. It's really cool. So thank you, sir, and we'll be in touch. I'm sure there'll be things that we'll be working on together.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks, Pat.
Well, thanks for tuning in. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites. See you next week.